And here we are, playing some Diablo 2. And you might immediately start to note there's something a little off about this version of Diablo 2. And you'd be absolutely right. This is a modded version of Diablo 2. The mod is Legacy of the Horadrim. And I'm kind of hoping that someday this mod might get picked up again. It did look like it was going to get picked up for a little bit, but then nothing really came of it. There are a couple of things, for example, in this mod that haven't quite been finished. Like, for example, you're supposed to get passive skills from certain pieces of equipment, but because of the way the passive skill system has been set up, with the requirement for all of them set at level 100, you don't actually get the benefits of the passive skills anymore. Which is kind of frustrating, especially since warmth has been taken out of all the trees and is now a passive skill. But I do really still like this mod, especially since basically what it tries to do is it tries to give you a lot more control over your character. Now, because of the different ways in which Diablo characters are affected by their class, your class is still important. It's not quite like Path of Exile where you can do almost anything with any character, but it does give you a lot more control, and this character I'm created here is a summoning build, basically, using the new synergies that Legacy of the Horadrim creates. You can set up all kinds of crazy things, and I decided to go pure summoner and see what happens. But I'm not doing this to show off this mod. There's all kinds of good Diablo 2 mods I could have potentially shown off, but just this happens to be one I'm fond of. I'm doing this, of course, because BlizzCon is coming up. In fact, the live gaming for BlizzCon has already started, leading up to the tournament finals that'll be held during the event. And we've kind of been put in a weird hype cycle by Blizzard if you happen to be a Diablo fan. Because it's like, well, if you're a Diablo fan, then you should definitely watch this BlizzCon. This is going to be the BlizzCon for you. And then recently they released this statement that basically says it's like, well, you know, we know that some of you out there are all excited for the projects we're working on, but just so you know, some of those projects may not be ready to show. So, if you are a Diablo fan, at this point you might be confused. And if you're at all curious, like, what has exactly been going on, what Blizzard's actually been up to with Diablo, I'm actually not going to go too much into that. This is a blog channel now more than a news channel. If you wanted to see some news on Diablo, I highly recommend Rhykker. Rhykker is currently doing excellent coverage of Diablo in his news segments. He now calls it general gaming news, but he still puts a lot of focus on Diablo and Blizzard and Diablo-style games like Path of Exile. So I'm going to put a link to his channel in the description. I highly recommend you check him out. In the meantime, then, what is this video? Well, basically, I wanted to go over some, maybe you could call them predictions, but I really kind of just wanted to talk about what I think the potential is for the different projects we might see announced this BlizzCon. So, right off the bat, the one we're all hoping for, the one we've all been waiting for, Diablo 4 is probably not going to be at BlizzCon. When they started to tell us to temper our expectations, Diablo 4 seemed to be what they were telling us to temper against. Now, they didn't say it directly. They didn't directly come out and say, no, Diablo 4 is not going to be at BlizzCon, but it was very strongly hinted at. Now, of course, this could be a fake. This could be them just trying to prevent us from getting too hyped up for Diablo 4 because they might not have as much to show for it as they would like to show. But I'm not expecting Blizzard to do kind of what Bethesda did with Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6. They don't tend to tease games that way, so I'm much more expecting that if Diablo 4 is at the show, they will have stuff to show for it, maybe some early gameplay, maybe one of the characters they're intending. They'll obviously have some concept art, but it's not going to be a lot if they're telling us to tone our hype down. And again, I could be wrong, but I don't see why they would try to temper our hype unless they honestly believe they wouldn't be able to live up to it with whatever they were going to show. But really, realistically, considering that we only just saw the job positions and postings for these new Diablo projects filled fairly recently, I'm not really expecting to see all too much, if anything, from Diablo 4. I think they have only just now really started to get a lot of progress and move on that project. So I'm not expecting to see it. Now, one thing you will hear a lot of people talk about is remasters. And I am all for the concept of both a Diablo 1 and a Diablo 2 remaster. I think both of them could use really, really good remasters. And when I say I want to see them remastered, I don't want to see them just get graphical upgrades. I don't want them to do what they did with StarCraft 1. Now, I know why they did what they did for StarCraft Remaster. I know that it was very focused on the esports scene, and they didn't want to make any changes so large that the esports scene would be upset about the remaster. But I think for Diablo, well, Diablo especially. So before Diablo 3 came out, I went back and I replayed through all of Diablo and Diablo 2. Well, at least that was my intention. I only played through Diablo 1 through normal. Because, yeah, going back and playing Diablo 1, as much as I have fond memories of it from when I was in high school, and as much Diablo 1 as I played back then, Diablo 1 did not age well. The speed of the game, the save system, the hotkey system, it's just all so far back from where we are with modern gaming. Diablo 2, I think, holds up much better. Obviously, otherwise I wouldn't be playing it for this blog video, but the simple fact of the matter is there are some things I think about Diablo 2 that could be fixed. I think they could make the controls tighter. I would like to see instant cast hotkeys from Diablo 3. I would love to see some of the minor bugs and glitches addressed, like the fact that the engine isn't capable of rendering all multi-shots, especially the infamous one, of course, is lightning enchanted multi-shots. Will break the engine. So I would like to see some of that addressed. And one big one I'd love to see for either is mod support. I would love to see some type of StarCraft 2 arcade or just any Blizzard mod support. And I definitely don't want to see either become online only. I want them to keep the same kind of network and single player options that they had before. So, of course, the next thing that we could potentially see is some type of Diablo 3 content. This is starting to seem increasingly less likely. There's just a lot of signs going on that Diablo 3 has been put in maintenance mode. It really hasn't even received any balance patches since a couple of updates ago. They seem to be happy with where Diablo 3 is currently at, and they don't seem to really want to fuss with it at all. So, although I'm not ruling out the potential of another character or some other kind of downloadable content or expansion content for Diablo 3, I'd be genuinely surprised if we actually saw a full Diablo 3 expansion. I'm not particularly expecting too much Diablo 3 related at BlizzCon. They're probably going to give us some, what are they doing with the seasons? Like, they might do some more stuff about that, but that's basically all I'm expecting for Diablo 3. So at that point, we start to look at the possibility of completely new Diablo projects. So with Diablo 3 for the Switch already getting announced and already looking at a release date. In fact, it looks like it will be playable on BlizzCon. You will be able to play Diablo 3 for the Switch. The only thing kind of left at that point are new projects, because we've got Diablo 3 basically on all the platforms that can sustain it. So what could we see for new projects? So the big worry is that they might do what Bethesda's doing and they might break into mobile. And I can understand why Blizzard, in particular Activision, would want Blizzard to break into mobile. But I'm just really not interested in mobile gaming. I mean, I do my mobile gaming on a DS. That's fine for me. I just haven't seen anything in mobile gaming so far that can really hold my interest for too long, which I think is kind of a shame, because, there are, I think, types of games that would benefit from being on mobile platforms. But I'm just, maybe, who knows, maybe Blizzard can come up with a project that would change my mind, and, definitely if a Diablo project comes out for a mobile game, that'd be a project definitely likely to get my interest back. But I'm kind of hoping they don't do that. Now, they could do a completely new Diablo project. Not so much, maybe I guess would be a Diablo project. They might put the Diablo title on it. But they could do, for example, a new type of game in Sanctuary. Like, I would love, for example, to see an isometric RPG in the full class-based RPG style, like the kind that you see with, that BioWare used to make and we have now with, like, Divinity and Pillars of Eternity and stuff like that. I would love to see Blizzard take their hand at that, because I think that that's a type of game they haven't dipped their feet into, and I personally think that they could probably do really, really well on it. That's the kind of game I would love to see Blizzard make. And there might be a couple of other different ways that they could pursue something in the Diablo universe. Now, right off the bat, what a lot of people, I think, got worried, and you heard some worries about this when Diablo 3 was announced, was some type of World of Diablo, or I guess you would say World of Sanctuary project. I'm not too worried about that. Now, I'd actually be kind of curious to see if Blizzard could evolve the MMO genre anymore. I haven't played World of Warcraft in a while now. I completely missed out on both Legion and Battle for Azeroth. I played Warlords of Draenor and lost interest in it almost immediately once I started doing a lot of stuff with the garrisons. In my opinion, I really haven't enjoyed WoW since, I gotta say, since Lich King. You know, and they got Vanilla WoW coming out, and they're going to be allowing people to try it out. But, you know, in my opinion, like, I didn't even really want Vanilla. I wanted Lich King back. Like, give me Old World was Lich King, and that would have satisfied me. But, you know, we'll see. Maybe they might still do some interesting things there. Maybe try releasing some of the later content from Burning Crusade and Lich King with more vanilla-esque mechanics. But again, I'm not too particularly worried about that. They're still working on WoW. They are still doing the World of Warcraft thing, and I just don't see them intentionally creating a lot of competition for themselves in World of Warcraft space. And that, you know, a whole new MMO would directly compete with World of Warcraft. There's just no reason for it. And yeah, that's basically all there is to it. That's essentially all I can really think of for new Diablo projects. You've got Diablo 4, you've got remasters, you've got the possibility of entirely new games, you've got mobile, and you've got the potential of a World of Sanctuary, World of Diablo project. And really the only ones I see being likely for this BlizzCon are remasters, a mobile project, and maybe a new type of game like an RPG. So, and as far as like what I want most, well, obviously I want Diablo 4 most. That's what I want. Probably followed by remasters and... No, actually I'm going to change my mind. I think I'd rather see them branch out and try new types of games in the Diablo universe before doing a remaster. But I'm pretty sure we are going to see remasters. And there's just a lot of hints that direction. So, that's basically all it is. As far as the rest of BlizzCon goes, like I said, I'm not really caring all that much about World of Warcraft anymore. I am always excited for esports, but I'm never going to be good at StarCraft, so I'm not particularly interested or care too much about StarCraft content beyond the esports scene. Heroes of the Storm, one of these days I might try to break into again, but that's one of those things, in my opinion, where it just helps if you're playing with friends. And most of my friends aren't doing the MOBA thing anymore. They just don't care about MOBAs anymore. So the chance of me breaking into Heroes of the Storm or caring about Heroes of the Storm content, that's not likely. I did finally get my hands on the full release of Overwatch. If I can ever get my migraines under control, almost definitely going to play some Overwatch. There's a lot of FPS games that I'm hoping one day my migraines will be under control. So just vicariously, I like to look at the Overwatch content going, maybe someday. And that's basically it. So, yeah. I'm hoping Blizzard will surprise us with some cool Diablo announcements, but I think, for the most part, I know what I'm expecting for Diablo. You know, obviously there will probably be a follow-up video after BlizzCon, but until then, this is Divine Erdrick, and I'll see you on the internet.